Hey, how's it going, guys? So you guys have probably already heard on Instagram that I'm retiring good old Cinderella over here. Most you humans already know the story behind this Dropbar bike and how I've become kind of identified by it at this point. But for those of you who don't, I actually have a very different background in cycling than most. I have a downhill racing background, and I was really active in that in the mid 2000s through the late 2000s, sorta. And I broke myself really hard, and that was that. I just decided to stop riding bikes altogether for a good 7-8 years. It's a super long story, which I will probably get into at some point. But yeah, so in 7-8 years, I just didn't ride any bikes whatsoever. And one day, I just decided that these bikes are sitting in my garage, and it's been a while, and I'm not doing anything with it. And so I sold the bikes. Hi, buddy. So I sold all my bikes, and then I got really depressed, and a week later I got a bike. I got into road cycling, which is really weird. I used to make fun of butt sniffers and spandex, and I got really heavily into endurance road specifically. I was doing like 2 to 3 centuries a week on top of other little things, and I did a bunch of Everest things. I was looking to do a bunch of like ultras and all that stuff. But I did not have a mountain bike or anything I felt comfortable taking on the on dirt. And then a buddy of mine, who knew me from my racing days, was watching all the road stuff I've been doing, and at some point he was telling me that, dude, I really don't want to see you get hit by a car. I don't want you to die. Here's a mountain bike. Go ride some mountain bikes. So he gave me an old K2 Attack. I think it was like a 2004 K2, which he had souped up, which was pretty sick for a 2004. I think he had a Reba on there, and he had an XT cranks and stuff. So yeah, he gave me a bike and a bunch of parts to build the bike up with, and I thought that was just way cool. But what I did instead of ride that K2 was I actually found this Kona cinder cone on Craigslist for $60. So I bought it, and I did a whole part swap with a bunch of donated parts and graveyard bin parts, and built this Dropbar bike for $200. And the whole reason why I wanted to do that was because I've got a lot of roadie friends who are into touring and dabble in dirt, and I wanted to be able to do that kind of stuff without taking out the really nice road bike. Yeah, this thing was it. It took about a year to figure out how to set up drop bars for technical riding and how to actually ride technical stuff on this bike, and yeah, I started being able to chase enduro bikes and hang with mountain bikers, and it was really cool. But you guys probably already seen that at some point I just started like doing some pretty dumb stuff on this bike. Just like keeping up with enduro bros on enduro bikes and like free riding it, jumping it. I mean, like a week ago I was dirt jumping this at Pleasanton Bike Park. So yeah, this bike has taken quite a lot of abuse, and it's also pretty old. Oh, hi there, buddy. It's also pretty old at this point. The frame is a 2000 Kona cinder cone. Yeah, it's 19 years old. The rear end is actually flexing quite a bit more than I remember, and definitely a lot more than I'm comfortable with. Like if I ride a rough section really hard, it will shift on me. Or if I take a corner really hard, it will shift on me. I mean, the teeth on the gears and stuff is probably a little worn, but shouldn't be that gnarly. But anyways, I've decided to it's time to like retire this bike. So that there comes the question, what happens to what's gonna fill that spot of the gravel bike for me? Well, the things I need out of a gravel bike have changed. As you guys can see, I have quite a stable at this point. I've got a downhill bike, and now I've got a trail bike, which you guys have seen as well. So I don't need a gravel bike that will that needs to, you know, bridge the gap between road bike and downhill bike anymore. So yeah, I'm doing the math on what I'm needing and stuff at this point, and what the new build is gonna be, and hopefully I'll be able to get it to on the same budget as this, though it's doubtful. I can't really tell you much at this point because I myself don't really know, as there are so many variables, and being able to do this on a really tight financial budget is definitely you know, making decisions for me. So I'm doing math as much as I can, but I will tell you one thing though: it is going to be a full rigid bike for sure. So yes, the new gravel bike is going to be a rigid bike for sure. That's the only thing I'm certain of at this point. I am still thinking of drop bars because I just love the multiple hand positions. And yeah, because this has to double up as my winter road bike as well. I don't like riding my nice road bike in the winter. But I also have considered the whole Sarah Hammond Race to the Rocks cockpit setup. So I really don't know yet, but rigid bike is for sure. Yeah, so stay tuned, and I don't know, probably I hope to get the ball running and the bike ready by spring 2020. But we will see what happens. I'm still going to keep riding this thing until that happens for sure. I'm not taking it apart, not dismantling it. This bike has just way too many memories to be like taken apart. But yeah, stay tuned for spring 2020. You will see me in a new gravel machine. It's probably going to be another drop bar bike, but I'm seriously considering the Sarah Hammond setup. But yeah, full rigid for sure. Anyways, thanks for listening to me rant about bikes, and yeah, don't forget to click here to subscribe. Click here for how I set up drop bars, how I ride this thing. Click here for some dumb video, click here for another dumb video. As always, thanks for watching, guys.